What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the High Tempo Sports Podcast, episode 201. Today, joined by a couple of guys, familiar faces, Seth and Ivan. Welcome to the show.
Yo, yo.
Hello.
Hello, guys. Quickly, before we get into anything, I did an audio-only episode talking about the Lions' win over the Chiefs over the weekend. So if you are strictly a YouTube watcher, head over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts because I'm going to be doing an audio-only episode probably at least once a week, maybe multiple times a week if I just think of random things to talk about. So go check that out. But this is going to be something that we are going to be doing every week. You know, I talked about this on Easton's last episode last week, but this is the weekly episode is going to turn into a fantasy episode talking about fantasy, and then all the other episodes by myself, I'll talk about other random things. And these two guys right here know a lot about fantasy football. Me and Easton mentioned this, but I joined their highly competitive fantasy football league a few weeks, maybe months ago for this season. And these two guys are the only two guys that have won the league. So, like, shout out to you guys. Like, like, what does it take to win that league?
We kind of touched on this a little bit this morning. We have like a waiver system. It's like a default.
I actually was going to bring this up.
Default waivers, like they clear
like
today
3:15 a.m. or something.
Between 3 and 5.
Yeah.
And so Ivan and I, for the last couple of years, have been waking up or setting alarms. I don't know what he does, but I set an alarm every day at 4 a.m. Or not every day, just Wednesdays. And I wake up and I pick up all the players that don't get picked up that I think are going to be pretty solid. That's the kind of dedication I got to this
and Ivan
league.
does the same, I assume.
Yeah. Last year I just was up at that time.
Right.
Like, you don't have to be there at 4. You just got to be there
before like 6.
Because I was doing it. Seth started doing it probably halfway through the year last year, and I was doing it like the whole year.
Right.
So it got like I was pretty much just milking it for the first half. And then you got in there, so it got a little more competitive.
I was going to say, I woke up at 4 and I sat there for about 45 minutes because I knew Ivan was going to be up for his job.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to beat him to it.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people in the league have different opinions on when waivers should clear. It should clear at a more understandable time for everyone. But that's kind of just how the setting is. That's how it just is on ESPN. So if you want to do a true, like, no changing our league is like that, right? Like nothing has been changed with any stats or anything, right?
No,
I don't think so.
Yeah,
no.
I think it's just standard league, which is perfect for how we're going to be going over stuff because nothing has changed. I honestly do like how FOB money works with waivers. I do like prefer that way of waivers because I just hate the waiver system, how you're like 8th on fucking waivers, and excuse my mouth. And I just hate how I really don't like that way. But yeah, as far as like the time of clearing, I mean, you guys just clearly have more dedication. So yeah, definitely. Okay, let's get into week 1 though of fantasy football. How did your guys' week 1s go? Obviously, I know you two had an elite matchup, but across all leagues, how was our week 1s?
Well, in our big league, it was good, obviously. I had a good week. Had the Cowboys defense, Jake Elliott. They both played
It's quite
great.
an elite duo right there.
And then in my other league, it didn't go well.
Did you lose in the Devy league,
Yeah,
Tebow's league? Yeah,
that's
so
the
did
league
I.
that didn't go well.
Yeah, me too.
Stafford and Stroud aren't going to get it done all year.
Yeah, that's tough.
Just like a disclaimer, Ivan and I played each other in our ESPN league that we were talking about. And I think for like the first maybe half of Sunday, Ivan was telling me Gibbs only put up 8 points. Jahmyr Gibbs only put up 8 points. Miles Sanders only put up 10. Like, I lost. It's over. And then the matter of like 15 minutes, Aaron Jones busted out like 32 points. And then obviously said he had the Cowboys defense going that night. It just got really out of hand real quick.
Yeah, I think I went 4-2 across my 6 leagues, which I'll take. You know, I thought I had a worse week than that. I snuck out the craziest dub against Jack in our league. Went into Monday Night Football down by 5 points with Stephon Diggs, and my opponent Jack had Josh Allen. Typically, you are going to lose that matchup because, you know, he's just going to handicap everything that Diggs does. But literally the most ideal scenario happened. Josh Allen's only touchdown goes to Stephon Diggs. He has like 30 rushing yards only, and the 4 turnovers is minus 8 points. Definitely helped. I think I won by like 9, so that was a pretty big win for me. But let's go over the top scores of week 1. So the top score of week 1 was Tyreek Hill with 44.5 points, and hilariously, The Dallas Cowboys defense was the second highest scorer with 35. Brandon Ayuk had 32.9. Jacoby Myers had 29.1. Tua Tagovailoa had 27.14. And the top running back of the week was Aaron Jones at 26.7. You have two of those guys on the same team, right?
I do.
Are you fortunate enough to have any of those guys this past week in any league?
No.
Wow. That's quite unfortunate. Actually, I don't think I did either.
Actually, I traded Ayuk prior to the season starting.
That's tough. Yeah. I had Tua on my bench, actually. I remembered I have Tua. But, yeah, that was definitely it wasn't like the craziest fantasy week, I don't think. There wasn't like a lot of like crazy performances. I mean, we just said it. There was only two guys, actual players, that had only over 30 points last week. And no quarterback actually went crazy. Any other like top performers of week one that you guys like really thought stood out?
I just have written down here Calvin Ridley. I just thought like, he obviously like the scoring was there. Everything that we saw in camp translated really well. So I was happy to see that. And then Diggs, I was a little concerned about him going into this year because of all the Josh Allen Diggs beef
drama.
But that 2-minute drill that we saw kind of towards the end of that Bills game proved that Diggs is a reception hog for Josh Allen, and he's going to be like that this year again. So
yeah, he got 10 receptions for like 110 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, he's
in a bad game from the Bills too. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. Any other like top performers that you?
To me, the one that stood out, the surprise outside of like Jacoby, was Tyler Algier.
Yeah,
like would never have started him
for
ever.
Sure. 20.
I could have listed 20 guys on Thursday before I started anybody that I would have rather started.
Yeah. 24.4 points for Tyler Algier, and it's not like he just because he had the 2 touchdowns, obviously, but he had 15 carries for 75 yards. Like,
and he looked good.
He did look really good.
Too,
Yeah, had 3 receptions for 19 yards. Bijan Robinson also had 21 points in fantasy too. So both of those guys got good work. That's a big question mark right now because I'm a Bijan Robinson owner. And I loved what I saw from Bijan Robinson. Like, I'm super excited for the rest of the year of him. But Tyler Algier, like, is definitely a bit of a concern, I guess, for Bijan owners.
Yeah, to me, I would compare it to the Gibbs-Montgomery situation. Obviously, Algier isn't like a veteran, but they're also winning.
Exactly.
Like, by multiple touchdowns. So why not just give Algier the ball? At least, did he score both of his touchdowns in the second half?
I think so, yeah.
So are the Falcons going to be up most games this year?
Probably
not. I would say probably not.
Right.
So I think the scripts will be a lot better for Bijan.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that also, because like Cade asked me this earlier about Bijan. He was like, aren't you scared of Algier? And I was like, I don't think Algier is going to score 2 touchdowns every game, like.
Right.
And the pass game was really bad for the Falcons. I mean, a lot of the pass game was to Bijan Robinson. He had 6 catches. Drake London obviously had a stinker with 0. Kyle Pitts is still just like an extra offensive lineman up there. So yeah, I think that Algier going off was really surprising though.
I think that's kind of a testament to kind of how good Bijan is going to be this year. With Algier kind of taking 2 touchdowns like that and Bijan still putting up 20 plus points. I mean, that offense probably can't sustain that for a whole season.
Definitely not.
But with Bijan still getting his 20 plus, like he's going to have better games than that.
I think so.
That's
too.
That's a good safety net.
And he only had I think he had 12 carries. Yeah, like he had less carries than Algier.
The work is definitely there for him. He's gonna exceed expectations.
Yeah.
So
I also think there really shouldn't be any worry because the whole first half, I swear that Bijan was in the slot more than he was. Like they were playing together the whole first half. Like I think he's gonna have like a Cordell Patterson type role there, just like crazy better. Mm-hmm. So I don't see a worry.
I'm not worried at all. I just think that I have Algier on my bench. Like, is there ever a world where I start them 2 together? Like, if I have to, depending on how these next few weeks go. But if Algier is getting 10 plus carries, like as good as he looked, that Carolina defense is like solid. They're not nothing to scoff at. So, I'm like not excited about Algier, but I'm fine with. I think Bijan will be fine. And Cordero didn't even play though, so that's also a little bit like, is Cordero gonna play a lot when he comes back? I don't think he will, just because they have Algier and Bijan that played really well. One of my biggest surprises from week 1, and I know Seth is gonna have a lot to say about this one, because he definitely was not surprised, and it's Puka Nacua of the Rams, 21.9 points, 0 touchdowns, 10 catches for 119 yards on 15 targets. He was Stafford was going at him every single play. He was the Cooper Kupp of that offense week 1.
Yeah, so in our little write-ups here, we've got like the top performers, the biggest busts, and the surprises. And I couldn't even put him in there just because I've had him on the squad. You guys can go back and check the records from our preseason episode.
Yeah, he did say Puka Nacua.
Puka Nacua has been that dude in training camp, and as soon as Cooper Kupp went out, I knew that like he was gonna have a role in this offense. So I kind of put him in his little own category, the Ben on this category, because I've been on this.
That's very fair. And I think that like with Nacua too, because obviously Cooper Kupp is on IR. And they, like Tutu Atwell had a really big week too, but he didn't have 15 targets. He had twice as many targets he had twice as less targets as Puka Nacua. So, yeah, I think that like was he undrafted or was he like a late round pick?
He was a late round pick. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that and that whole team in general. I mean, even like Kyron Williams putting up 2 touchdowns. And Cam Akers had like the worst stat line I've ever seen, but had a touchdown. He like 22 carries for 29 yards, which was hilarious. But that whole Rams team was like just from a fantasy standpoint, a lot of surprises going on.
The Rams were definitely not supposed to win that game, but I think that kind of goes to show that Matthew Stafford is still the Super Bowl winning quarterback that led that team. The one thing that I was surprised about is that and you can see this when he plays with Cooper Kupp. He has like a very locked on, like, I'm going to throw to the guys that I trust, that I know can make plays. So I was a little bit shaky with Puka Nacua being a rookie like that.
Right.
And I figured Van Jefferson would draw a lot of those targets, but Van Jefferson really did not do much.
No.
And I think once he saw what Puka Nacua could do on the first 3-4 targets, I think he just kind of opened it up and said, all right, this is going to be my guy.
Yeah. And Stafford also is still that dude, too.
He is.
Just carving up the Seahawks defense. Didn't have himself a touchdown, but...
My only worry with Puka is if Kupp comes back week 5, what happens then? Because I don't know if he's going to be out there in like 2 wide receiver sets. I really think it will still be Van Jefferson.
Probably just because like Nacua kind of plays that Cooper Kupp role.
He does.
So I think
Van Jefferson is your vertical
since
threat.
this is a fantasy podcast, I would like monitor what's going on with Kupp. And if Puka like they have a couple hard matchups, right?
Yeah.
If he's like
Niners
going
this
crazy still, I would try to sell high.
Yeah, it's definitely this is going to be a tough week for them playing the Niners. We just saw the Niners defense absolutely feast on Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It got really ugly for Pittsburgh's offense
Sadly.
there. But like Ivan said, when Cooper Kupp comes back, there is a chance that he kind of earns that wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 maybe if he does well the next couple weeks. But yeah, once Cooper Kupp comes back, you can kind of see how they play the same role.
This week will be, I feel like, a really big tell on, like, is he really going to be involved that much in this offense? It'll be a tell for everyone, I think, in the offense for them. Another guy that, like, I wasn't necessarily surprised about, but I was just surprised at his usage, I guess, was Roschon Johnson of the Chicago Bears. I know that you added him, or you did add him, right?
I added him and
Yeah.
dropped him.
He had 5 carries for 20 yards with a touchdown, but had 6 receptions for 35 yards on 7 targets. So 17.5 fantasy points. Even without the touchdown, 11.5 from Roschon on only 5 carries is like a green flag. Like Khalil Herbert, there was a lot of talk coming into this season about who was going to be the RB1 there. And obviously Khalil Herbert like won the job and everything, but I think going forward, like you might be more comfortable with Roschon Johnson because of the amount of pass catching ability he had. They were getting like blown out by the Packers, so that could inflate into this. But I think Roschon Johnson definitely like surprised me as far as that's a guy that should be on people's radar going forward.
Yeah, I think just with that offense and how they work with Fields and like the touchdown vulturing that he's going to do all year. Like you're going to want the receiving back on that team. The guy that gets the receiving work because he was checking down a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's another team that I think they're better this year, but I don't think they're going to be winning every game. So I think I think he has a lot higher ceiling. And he has a lot higher floor too because Herbert's just going to have weeks with 4 points.
Yeah.
Like he's going to have weeks with 6 points.
And he'll even on 18 carries, you know, like just
if
because
he's not getting the targets in that offense and scoring a touchdown 1 every 4 or 5 games, it's not going to be good for him.
Yeah, and I have Khalil Herbert as my RB2 in one of my leagues that I went insanely wide receiver heavy in. So I'm kind of like stressing to pick up Kenneth Gainwell in that league too. Like now he's out. So yeah. Any other surprises though for you guys from week 1 performers?
My last surprise, and we kind of touched on him with like the top performers, but Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
He was
Playing,
there was
a lot of question marks, and I think there still are a lot of question marks because Devontae's on that team, and we know Devontae's a generational talent. But Jacoby Myers outscored him, had more targets, and Devontae still got end zone receptions. But I think Jacoby like was right there with him in end zone targets. So, I really don't know what to expect from him going forward. Obviously, he had the nasty injury at the end of the game.
Yeah, which is so unfortunate. I think he's like okay. He's just going through the concussion protocol right now.
But that was, I think, I tried to look yesterday, but I think that is his top fantasy performance ever.
Probably. I mean, 29. Like that's quite high for. I mean, he was like a consistent receiver the last couple of years. But he never was like gonna go off, get 2 touchdowns. Like that's just the Patriots just weren't about that. So
and I think Devontae's still gonna be Devontae. So I'm actually very curious as to how this offense kind of.
How much did Devontae put up week 1?
12, 13.
Right. He's questionable right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he didn't practice today. I figured it was just kind of like a load management kind of thing.
Which kind of sucks because Wednesday's like the worst day to like do like the injury report because Thursday's like the real like day.
Exactly.
Like if you don't practice Thursday, then it's like okay.
You
like,
see a lot of these older players kind of taking the first couple days.
Exactly. Yeah, and there was a lot of guys that missed today.
Yeah.
But yeah, Myers though definitely was, and Renfro is still in that offense obviously, but it seems like he kind of is just like not involved anymore.
Yeah, and he's kind of taken this step back since they paid him.
Yeah.
It's almost like they paid him and then ever since then they just kind of forgot about him.
And Myers is year 1 guy, you know.
Exactly.
That's the weirdest part about that. So I don't know.
I think he was my biggest surprise that I had too, but I think it was very situational. Like I think Surtain's a great matchup for Devontae, probably one of the best in the league.
Big body.
Could be the best, yeah.
So I think obviously Jimmy G's gonna throw check those kind of passes to Jacoby because he's gonna be way more open than Devontae. But I just think the Surtain week 1. It's probably not going to happen. He probably won't have more points than he did week 1.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'd probably not. Yeah. Especially, I mean, 2 touchdowns too plays a huge part. I think.
But I think he'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll definitely be
6 targets, 4
like a
receptions.
fringe flex, or do you think he even treads a little bit like a solid flex into a wide receiver 2? Maybe.
I think he's ceiling. I don't even know.
Yeah. It's so
like
hard.
Tyler Lockett ish.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
yeah. That's a good
Hollywood. Like I would like. Put them right.
Mike Williams.
Yep.
Yeah, Mike Williams. I like Mike Williams a little.
Yeah,
more.
I would do too.
But yeah, I would say like Hollywood, Tyler Lockett, those 2 guys really stick out. Like maybe Pickens now. Deontay's hurt, or Deontay when he comes back.
Start or sit Jacoby Myers this week.
Who do they play?
The Bills.
I mean,
is he gonna be?
He's probably not gonna play.
You're right. Yeah,
I probably wouldn't start him
if
he
of the and
concussion.
Devontae are both healthy. Do you start him? I guess let me just put it that way.
I would say I would start him over Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, like if that's what you're deciding between. Yeah,
I would start him. I would probably start him over like if you're talking about flex, like Damian Pierce maybe.
Right. Yeah. Pierce, dude, I don't like Pierce, and Cade keeps trying to give me Pierce. Like he screams touchdown or bust, which is quite unfortunate. Okay, we've talked about all these great guys. Does anyone else actually have any other surprises from week 1? We've talked about all these great performances from week 1. We're being too freaking positive. We need to move over to the bus from week 1. 3 starting caliber players, especially 2, put up donuts this week, and that is T. Higgins, Drake London, and Dallas Goedert. Put up donuts. I told Seth this before, but I have T. Higgins and Dallas Goedert in my Dynasty League and still won and started both of them, which is just unreal. But those are some terrible. I mean, I have T. Higgins, and I won with T. Higgins too, which is kind of crazy, but 0 is crazy.
Yeah, especially for, like you said, guys of this caliber. I mean, T. Higgins has drawn 8 targets that game. 8 targets without a catch. That's unbelievable.
And the Bengals offense in general was just like this. I don't think you should take the T. Higgins 0 as like a insane red flag. I'm not just saying that because I'm an owner of him, but the whole offense was just bad.
I think Joe Mixon had 45 rushing yards.
Something like that.
Joe Burrow had 38 passing yards.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And Jamar Chase had like 8 or 9 points, I'm pretty sure. But what about any of these other 0s? Are any of them like a bit of a red flag?
I was going to throw in T. Higgins busted, but he's probably the best buy low candidate for now. Trading.
Oh, yeah.
But I think Drake London is
Like he's cooked.
It's bad.
He's done.
It's
yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
The thing that surprised, well, Drake London, obviously we know that's a shaky offense. I have Kyle Pitts in here too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, every year people get so high on him. This is the year. This is the year. He's probably the best, from an athlete perspective, best tight end in that caliber.
He's like
Maybe
the
other than
definition of
George
like
Kittle.
good football player, bad fantasy football player.
But like, when is he gonna take that step?
Probably when he gets traded.
I don't
Say when
see
they get
it,
a
man.
different quarterback, that's a good quarterback at some point.
And I think like Drake London played 91 or 92% of the snaps in that game and just didn't get a catch.
There's a lot. Drake London is my biggest bust.
Yeah.
I only put one on my thing, and it's because the one target is the first thing. The second thing is whoever their head coach said after the game, Drake London doesn't care.
Oh, really?
Which is like, that's a good team player, like respect, but like Diggs cares.
Like he doesn't
Diggs
care
gets
that he
10
got
targets.
zero catches.
Like he didn't care because they obviously won. But I think those are my two.
But you
red
should
flags.
still, and I get what you're saying because like as the head coach, like it's nice to have a guy like that, but also he was a top 10 draft pick. Like you need to figure out a way to, and so was Kyle Pitts. Both of those guys were. Like you need to figure out ways to incorporate them into your, and they still won, so I get it, but like I think Ritter only had like 110 passing yards too.
My other red flag was I saw this stat. The target share, it was like close to 60% was the running backs.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Because Algier had 3 catches, probably more than 3 targets.
And the
Bijan
sample
had
size is
8
tiny.
targets. Yeah.
Because it's like 18 passes or something.
It wasn't a lot.
He'll have better days. And you can't drop him, in my opinion, and you can't trade him right now. It's just a bad situation.
I don't think that either one of them warrant anything close to even consideration until we see how these running backs shake out. Because if these running backs are going to be the dominant force out of this offense in the receiving game, in the rushing game, where do these two fit in? Because I don't think that they know their spot, and I don't think that they're going to have one until they really like buckle down and try to figure it out.
Pitts is my tight end in my family league, and that league is we only have like 4 bench spots in that league, so it's really like the waivers are usually pretty nuts. Like I sent you guys, T. Higgins got dropped in that league, which is that's a bit like shout out to my cousin Jared if he's watching this. That's a bit crazy. But yeah, like I have Pitts as my tight end right now, and then like I really can't because I don't have a backup tight end on my bench. My bench is loaded. It has like all starters on it, so. Like, I can't really afford to him to have, like, multiple bad weeks, or else I'm going to drop him for, like, I don't even know. Like, some sleeper tight end will
Hayden
start.
Hurst.
Yeah, like Hayden Hurst, a guy like that.
Kincaid,
like,
maybe.
Kincaid, yeah, he's probably available, too. So, like, I don't know. It sucks with those guys. What about Goddard, though? Goddard putting up 0. Is that, like, is that something to be concerned about? Because he was, like a top 5 tight end last year. Had a lot of hype. I think he was the 5th tight end off the board in most drafts this year. 6th maybe in that range.
Yeah.
So what do we think about Goddard right now?
I'm not too concerned about him. Sirianni came out after the game and he said, we know what he's capable of. In a game like that, he's got to get the ball in his hands. Like they know that he's capable of making big plays. He's never been a huge end zone threat,
right?
But he's a good chunk yardage, gonna go out,
gonna get 7 targets,
exactly. Yeah, so I'm not too concerned. I think he'll kind of get back on track. It's an explosive offense, so his opportunities will come.
Yeah,
it was a really weird game too. They
really
go up like 17 in the first quarter, and it's raining too.
Off a pick 6 too.
It's raining. They weren't really throwing, and they weren't throwing that much. The Eagles, like obviously Devonta and AJ Brown worked out. But AJ Brown, there was one drive in the second half where he got like 5-6 targets, 5 catches. I just think it wasn't Goddard today.
Yeah, and I think so. Like you said, like the game script just wasn't great for Goddard. Like they went up big. The Eagles' offense was just kind of like weird, and the Patriots were the Patriots were coming back the whole entire second half. So the Phillies' offense wasn't on the field much. So yeah, I don't think you should be too worried about Dallas Goedert. I think he plays Thursday night. Feel safe to keep him in the starting lineup. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about some guys that you should be looking to pick up week 1 because that's how everyone knows that's how you win leagues. It ain't trades obviously are like quite important. But in leagues where like you don't really be making a lot of trades, waivers is where you get your guys. So, I got 3 guys. I wrote a 4th like just in case that like you should be picking up, and I tried to write guys that maybe you guys wouldn't. But one of you guys, give me one of your top waiver pickups for this week.
So I've got 4 dudes as well. I've got 2 tight ends.
Okay.
2 receivers. I'll go with the tight ends just because I feel like that's a position where, like, you know, you can either win a matchup or lose a matchup.
If you have Kyle Pitts.
Because it's really Travis Kelce and a whole lot of dudes behind him that just, like... So people are usually fighting and scrapping to get a viable tight end. I've got Durham Smythe for the Dolphins. He looked solid. He had 7 receptions, and those weren't checked down, you know, dumped down for 8 yards. He had, I think, 2 or 3 deep looks on deep balls and 2 or 3 looks in the end zone.
Yeah.
Can I ask you questions?
Yeah.
So, like, guys that like, you would rather have him or these guys?
Okay. Well, this is going to be pretty rough.
Good call.
Yeah, go for it.
These are guys on our waivers, though.
Okay.
Kincaid,
I'd rather have him.
Musgrave.
I think I would go Smythe.
That's a toss-up, yeah.
You think he's Musgrave, Ferguson, him, maybe?
Yeah, I think he...
So for
he's
like a 12-team
ahead.
league, it's definitely like a guy that should be rostered.
Smythe also got robbed because did he catch a touchdown in that game?
No.
He got robbed of a touchdown because that River Craycraft dude for the Dolphins, like Tua had both of them open and he just overthrew Smythe, and so that River dude caught it. They're both wide open. So like Smythe got robbed of a touchdown.
So it's tough in this offense. Obviously, you have 2 incredible receivers with Tyreek and Waddle. But, I mean, this guy looks like he's going to be a solid third option for this offense. And if Tyreek and Waddle are getting a lot of the attention, he could have a few big games here or there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're good at that. Offense is explosive enough for 3 guys to be easily fantasy relevant in the pass game.
Yeah.
And I think Tua actually, like Gesicki had good games last year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
If he's better than Gesicki, like...
And Gesicki's like not much of a like he blocked a lot for them last year.
So there's definitely a high ceiling there. Like he could be a top 7 tight end by the end of the year.
And he's probably quite low rostered, I would assume too. So, what about you, Ivan? What's a main waiver ad of this week?
I had my first one was Puka.
Yeah, pretty big one.
We probably don't have to talk about it much more.
Right, yeah. And I think like most people are picking him up.
Yeah.
Like he should be rostered in most leagues now, I would assume.
I think outside of maybe Kenneth Gainwell, my number 1 guy that should be picked up was Romeo Doubs.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he looked really good. I know Christian Watson wasn't there, but I still think Doubs is probably going to be Jordan Love's favorite target. And he's going to be an end zone threat all year. Obviously, he didn't have the yards. But
Right.
I really think he could be really good this year. And I think he could score a lot of touchdowns.
So I have a little interjection here because we also have like a little injury report section. And I didn't put Dobbs in my waiver ads, but I do think we could touch on this right now. With Christian Watson being out, like you said, Jordan Love obviously being a young QB, do you think that there's going to be any falter in this offense once Christian Watson comes back because Dobbs is out there getting this connection with Jordan Love that obviously Christian Watson had last year with Rodgers?
Right.
He's going to be a step behind coming into this offense now.
Potentially. I think that Watson is still definitely going to be like a major touchdown, like red zone guy. Like he proved that last year. Like you throw it up to him, like he's going to come down with it in the end zone. And I assume Love kind of recognized that, sitting behind Aaron Rodgers last year. But I definitely could see Dobbs getting a bigger share of the targets for sure, especially to start things off.
I know last year at the beginning of the season there were a lot of questions because Dobbs was the more highly touted receiver that everyone was looking at as like a sleeper at the start of last season, and then he got hurt right away, and then Christian Watson kind of like became Aaron Rodgers' favorite target on that offense. And then we're kind of seeing a little flip-flop here where Christian Watson's now hurt, and Dobbs, like you said, 2 touchdowns is looking great on this offense.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think Christian Watson, he's going to have great games. They're both going to have great games. I don't know which one I would choose.
Watson probably has like a much more like you don't know what you're going to get from him, whereas Dobbs, like he's probably going to get you at least 8 every week.
And I honestly don't know what I would choose, but the fact that it's a question, you need to pick up Romeo Doubs because Christian Watson is probably 90-plus roster.
Yeah, exactly. He was drafted in the top 8 rounds of the draft. So, yeah, definitely that's a great point. My big one is Joshua Kelly of the LA Chargers, especially if you are a Austin Eckler owner. Eckler hasn't practiced today or yesterday. Now, Brandon Staley did say that today it was for a personal matter, but it had to deal with his injury. So I don't know how that's like personal matter. So that's why he wasn't at practice. But Kelly's only 31% rostered right now, and he had a really good week with Eckler, like, still in the game. He had 16 carries for 91 yards plus a touchdown. So I think that he definitely, if you were an Austin Eckler owner, 100% you need to roster him, because if he doesn't play this week, like, obviously Kelly's going to be getting the work. But even if not, like, if you are just somebody else, you could use that as leverage to the guy that has Austin Eckler to try and trade him to him. So I think you should definitely pick him up.
Yeah, and you definitely should not drop him. If you have Eckler, you pretty much just have to hold him the whole year, I think.
Yeah, especially after
seeing
how good
that
of a
week one,
he had,
like, you kind of have to hold him.
Kind of how, like, I have to hold Algier. Like, I can't afford to, even I can't trade him. Like,
Right.
he has to be on my squad. What's some other waiver ads for you guys?
One receiver that I was pretty surprised with is Josh Downs out of the Colts.
Yeah.
7
Rookie.
targets. And the other big question mark, because they signed Isaiah McKenzie from the Bills this offseason. Isaiah McKenzie in that third receiver slot played 1 snap. Josh Downs outsnapped him, had more targets. That's a shaky offense outside of Pittman. We know Jonathan Taylor and their run game is pretty rough.
That's another weird room right now, too, with all which running back do you want from them, too?
So there's a good chance that they're not going to be winning a lot of games. And Richardson looked solid enough to support a receiver or two that are fantasy viable. I think Josh Downs could kind of step up into a wide receiver 2 role there.
Mm-hmm. And he seemed to be getting more work than Alec Pierce as well. So, and I don't know if Pierce is Pierce rostered in our league?
I don't think so.
I have him in my 12-man league, but I don't think he's on a squad in our league.
I don't think so.
Do you have another one?
I had Algier on mine. I know that's like iffy, like probably rostered, but I think he was around 50%.
Yeah.
So I threw him on there because he has to be on a team.
Yeah.
I have 2 guys. Roshan was one of them that are stashes that I think are like the best stashes right now. It's him and Sean Tucker at the Buccaneers. He had like I don't know how many carries Sean Tucker had, but he looked really good.
Yeah.
And Rashad White looked very bad.
Yeah, and that's kind of a weird offense right now too.
So I think I would stash him if you have an open spot and none of the other guys are there. I would think about stashing Sean Tucker. He could be good. I think he was undrafted. He's a rookie.
Yeah, I think he was too.
Yeah. He could be really good.
Especially
there's usually one guy every year that's like undrafted or like a late round rookie running back. That's just good because it's just situation and they're
pops
good.
Off. Especially if you're in a deeper league too, like 12, 14 man, like that would be a good stash for sure. I have a weird one here, and I think that now they're 71% rostered, so like little bit of like whatever. The Cleveland defense needs to be the defense that you pick up this week.
Into this.
If you're a guy like me, I've every year of fantasy, I've never been the guy that like I'm gonna draft this Legion of Boom and they're my defense all year. Nope, I pick up a new defense every single week in every league. And Cleveland defense taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look what they did against Cincinnati week 1. Mm-hmm. They only put up 9 points, which is like, that's good. But like, they didn't have any turnovers.
Yeah.
But like, they just stopped them in general. Pittsburgh allowed 14 points to San Francisco's defense. Imagine what Cleveland's defense about to do to them, especially no Deontay Johnson. Like, I'm not even trying to be the Steelers hater right now, but Cleveland's defense was available in our league. I scooped them. They were available in my other league. I scooped them in that one too. Like 71% rostered is like they were the 29%. I'm in 2 of them. So.
And you brought up the they only scored 9 points, but that's 9 points against probably one of the most highly touted offenses in the league. I mean, the Bengals are no joke. Joe Mixon, always a top running back. They've got 3 receivers that could gut you from any which way. Joe Burrow, obviously a generational talent right now. So 9 points against the Bengals offense.
I think they had 4 sacks.
I'll take that any day of the week.
Definitely, for sure. Any other? Or you have a couple more, right? Waiver ads.
The other one I had was Hayden Hurst.
Oh, yep.
We kind of talked about him a little bit. That is another shaky offense, and rookie QB looked like a great safety valve underneath routes, and he caught the first touchdown.
Yep.
Whipped that ball into the stands. He was so pumped. He
what was
happy
up with
to
that,
be there,
dude?
man.
Yeah,
So,
especially it is kind of weird though with Thielen and DJ Chark. Both like Thielen didn't play, right? Because I know Shark was out, but I don't think Thielen played either.
I thought Thielen played.
I think
maybe
he played
did.
bad.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
he
Because I know he was like
great
questionable going into it. So, yeah, with a couple injuries there, especially if Chark continues to miss time, like Hurst could be a good waiver guy. I have one more. If you guys don't have any more, guys,
go for it.
Rashid Shaheed. That dude. One thing is he has the coolest name I've ever heard in the world. I mean, his mom. What a genius name for that kid. But yeah, he's only 13% rostered. I don't think he's like gonna pop off, but like he had 5 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown. But I don't know if you guys saw that clip of like Derek Carr on the sideline, like talking to the offensive coordinator, like, you got to give me another shot to get it to Rashid. And he was like, okay. And to ice the game, he threw like a 40-yard bomb to Shaheed, and then he just went down and they won the game. So he seems to be like the deep threat of this team, which like they don't really have. Like Olave can kind of be that deep threat, but he seems to be the middle of the field guy. We obviously know how Michael Thomas is. And Taysom Hill is their tight end. Like, he's not going to catch a lot of passes. So, also, Shaheed had 2 rushes for 11 yards. So, like, they're going to use him as, you know, like a little bit of a Debo type of role.
Yeah, they're definitely not afraid about using dudes like that.
Exactly.
Historically, they always
And
have
Shaheed had a few games last year where he had a few games where he popped off, like, randomly. Yeah. But then all his other games, he had, like, 1. Yeah. So, like, this year, he could be more consistently in that role. So, he's another, like, stash guy for sure. Also, like, I don't know if you guys can hear this, but like our AC is going right now, and it just is loud as hell. So sorry if you guys can hear that. Okay, let's get into. Do we want to do the injury report and then get into like our boom bust and start and sit? Do we want to go that route?
Report first.
Okay, injury report week 1. A lot of injuries. Let's talk about the major one. Aaron Rodgers goes down with a torn Achilles, 4th play of his Jets career. Ivan, I want to talk to you first as a Garrett Wilson owner. I saw you panicked and traded him. But what does this mean for Garrett Wilson and maybe even anyone else that is rostered on that offense?
I think there's 3 guys that should be rostered on that team now. Delvin, Brees, Garrett Wilson. I don't see a case for any other player.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say much on Garrett Wilson right now because I have something later.
Okay. That works.
But I don't think it's great.
Yeah.
I traded him for Keenan Allen. Pretty happy about it. I have Herbert, so it's a stack.
Yeah.
It hurt. I took Garrett Wilson in the second.
Right. Keenan was like
round.
4th
Keenan
or 5th,
was like
probably.
Early 5th round, but
that doesn't. Aaron Rodgers was healthy during the draft.
Right.
So.
I think Garrett Wilson is tough because we saw him play very, very well with poor QBs last season. I don't think it hurts him as much as people obviously like right now are like, oh, Rodgers done for the year. Like it's the Jets like are going to be so bad, which I don't disagree. The Jets probably aren't going to be.
They probably weren't like a playoff team.
But I think Garrett Wilson gets downgraded from a nuclear wide receiver option to just he's going to be a very good receiver for you.
I think that's what it is too, because like I think the reason he was getting drafted so high was because of the thought of like the step he's going to take.
Exactly.
It wasn't about like, oh, he's going to be what he was last year. Like, no, he's going to be way better than he was last year, and he already was really good. Yeah. So yeah, I think he's still going to be like a solid guy. But
I mean, like we saw that, like that touchdown that he had.
It was crazy.
That is a freak of nature play. But I mean, the first part of that play is a terrible, terrible ball.
And if he does, how many points did he have?
14.
Yeah, if he doesn't catch that touchdown, he has 8. So, and that's just not what you want out of your.
But a lot of that I think you could probably credit that to the team is pretty distraught, losing what they thought was going to be their savior, take them to a Super Bowl this year. There's definitely an adjustment period, but now I think they came out and they said, Zach is our guy.
Which they kind of have to say.
Going to be our QB.
There's not a lot of options. I know everyone's kind of just like, well, they'll go get someone else. It's like, who are they going to go get? Like, obviously, like, Carson Wentz is still out there. Like
Tom Brady.
Like, I've heard the Case Keenum talk. He's on the Texans, I think.
Did you see RG3, like, almost half
I saw he, like, said something about that. He was talking about, like, him and, like, Cam Newton, talking about, like, the guys that are out of the league, like what
Kaepernick's agent contacted the Jets.
I did see that, which is just hilarious. It's been so long, Kaepernick. Like,
my big one was Jameis Winston.
That seems like the popular one too, which like kind of makes sense.
It does. I kept seeing stuff about Teddy Bridgewater.
Dude, I did
see that
too.
Stuff.
I saw there's Lions fans like if the Jets call about giving like a 2nd round pick for Teddy Bridgewater, you have to do it. It's like, yeah, I mean, from a trade value standpoint, yeah, but like you do that and Goff gets hurt the next week, is that 2nd round pick worth it? No.
Exactly.
Like you brought in Teddy Bridgewater to be your backup quarterback for a reason. So I don't think they should trade him to the Jets. unless they give you something stupid.
Yeah.
But which they wouldn't do, so.
But, yeah, anyways, back to Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Still going to be a great receiver. You don't necessarily have to hit a panic button right now. Just know he's not going to be pushing. I don't think he's going to push top 5 this year without Rodgers.
No, I think it's quite impossible.
He's going to be good, not insanely good.
Yeah, I think so too.
What do you guys think of Brees?
Brees had a really good game.
Does it hurt Brees though?
Does it make him better because of the dump offs? I mean, the dump offs were going to happen either way.
Yeah.
There's so many spins.
They might run the ball more
this.
now if they don't want to pass it as much. It's tough. It really is because Brees looked really good. But Dalvin Cook still got obviously a good amount of work, and he's going to continue to. And they might lean on Dalvin Cook even more as the veteran, without Rodgers there. I think Brees is probably like in the same territory.
Yeah, I think it might knock him down a spot.
Yeah, I can
Maybe
see
one
it.
or two. Just attention wise, when you're out there on defense now, what are you thinking about?
It's a good point.
You're thinking about Brees, you're thinking about Garrett Wilson, you're not thinking about much else.
You don't think about Zach Wilson.
And the amount of times I've been an Aaron Jones owner for 2 years now, going on year 2. The amount of times that Aaron Rodgers just got A.J. Dillon to the 5, and A.J. Dillon just got to putz around and maybe score a touchdown in 3 plays. There would have been so much touchdown upside there with Aaron Rodgers that I think is gone. I do think the dump downs definitely help. I don't think you'll really notice a huge difference.
Yeah, I could see that though with the attention thing. That definitely could be a big play.
It's definitely it's hard to say because there's so many aspects that go into what could make a really good fantasy player, and you look at the Jets, they're still gonna have a great defense.
Yeah,
but can't trust Zach Wilson that much. So do you think that in tight games they're going to want to, or tight games, or if they're losing, they're going to either want to throw the ball? Do you think they want to hammer Brees? It's so hard to kind of pin down what their plan is going to be going forward.
Right.
I don't think Brees loses too much value, but he does lose some.
And they're definitely going to bring in somebody, though, like a QB,
Yeah.
just to compete with Zach Wilson. I don't know if they'll win the job. I think they would feel fine if Mike White was still the backup quarterback of this team.
Right.
Unfortunately, he's not, and I think Mike White was solid last year when he played. They might give Flacco a call again. I mean, he was there last year, and he's not good, but he's a guy that's familiar with that offense. So I don't know what they're gonna do, but someone will come into that room. Even Salah said it today. They're gonna bring somebody in. They have to. It's just a matter of, are they going to be the quarterback over Zach Wilson? Who knows? Okay. We kind of touched on this a little bit, so we don't have to talk about it much. But Austin Eckler, is obviously on the injury report. Yep. But we kind of main reason we're talking about the injury report is what does it mean for everything. We kind of talked about it. Joshua Kelly is Josh Kelly a start if Eckler is out?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Start. He's a start for sure. If you want to, I don't see a team. If you have Eckler, you definitely start him. I don't see a guy that you would have on your bench that would be better than him.
Let's say I have Alexander Madison in my RB2 slot, and I just had Joshua Kelly on my team.
Yeah.
Who do I start?
Who do the Chargers play?
Chargers play the Titans. Yes.
And then the Vikings play the Eagles.
Vikings
I
play
would
Eagles.
Start Joshua Kelly.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Madison didn't look great.
I know this is totally. I'm just switching categories here, but do I start Madison this week?
Who's your other option?
McLaurin, and I would have started D Hop over him this
McLaurin
week.
plays Denver, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, I don't think I can. And
Which
he didn't
is
even
weird
have a good week
Denver ranked on the ESPN app is 27.
Yeah, I know. I think it was
That's
just because
so
Myers
false,
had a crazy
man.
game against him. I think I have to start Madison at flex again this
I think
week.
you have to too. It should be a good game.
Yeah, I think
High
so
scoring.
too. Let's talk about this one though. We talked about, this would have been maybe the top waiver ad if he didn't get ruled out today, and that's Kenneth Gainwell. Was ruled out. Obviously, they play on Thursday, so it's unfortunate. But he seemed to be the top dog in that running back room, which was surprising. DeAndre Swift had 1 carry, I think. And Rashad Penny was a healthy scratch. Boston Scott got a few carries in there. He seemed to be RB2. But Gainwell is out now. So what does this mean? Do you start anyone in this Eagles backfield tomorrow night, or do you just avoid?
I would say I don't think you can get a good grasp on this backfield in the first 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I think you can kind of get a tell after that of who they're really going to lean on, because Swift, obviously they traded for him. Everyone thought that they were going to have a good plan with him going forward. Maybe he's still learning the offense. maybe he's just like not fitting in very well.
Maybe Brad Holmes is just a genius.
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, you have 4 running backs on this roster that you really don't know, and so I would say week 4 maybe get a better tell, but right now I wouldn't start any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting situation. I think if you're looking to take a dart throw, start Swift.
Yeah.
And if Swift gets 13 carries, he's probably going to have a good day.
Yeah, because he'll probably get like 3 or 4
because they're still the best offensive line in football.
Yeah.
But the thing is the Vikings did really good against Rachaad White. So I would be very hesitant to start. Swift would be the only one I would think I would start, but I wouldn't start him.
Yeah, Swift is projected 12.1 right now with Rashad Penny at 8.2 and Boston Scott at 4.4. I feel like I think Scott should be projected more than Penny personally.
Yeah.
I mean, they chose to have Scott on the active roster over Rashad Penny.
Yeah.
But Penny seems like maybe the most touchdown, could get you a touchdown. So who knows? But yeah, I'm avoiding it at all costs. I'm not starting any of these guys. But it kind of sucks because I would have loved to see Gainwell just someone take the lead in this backfield,
Exactly,
so we have a fantasy relevant guy. You know. Okay, this one leans to you, Ivan. Aaron Jones, no practice today. He's out. What is that? Is that a bad? He's got a hamstring injury. Are you worried?
Yeah, I'm worried. I don't think it'll be more than a week or 2 if he does miss time.
Because he left the game, right?
He left the game and he was on the sideline the rest of the game, stretching.
Uh-huh.
I think they might have said he could have came back in, but I don't remember.
They were up big, though.
Yeah, he was not coming back in either way. I think he wasn't practicing today either way. I think tomorrow is either he's playing or not. I think it's going to be in my mind.
We are recording this Wednesday night, by the way, if I haven't put that out there. So you're probably listening to this Thursday, but we're recording this Wednesday.
I'm definitely worried about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I had bigger fish to fry with the whole Garrett Wilson situation recently.
That's
but
true.
I am worried about it. I don't have a good guy to start if he's out.
Do you have A.J. Dillon?
No.
That's tough.
A.J. Dillon's a smash start, though, if he's out.
Yeah.
Even though he looked terrible.
But Aaron Jones played a lot, so.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. Just because I feel like hamstrings are always the most unpredictable in football. I mean, we're seeing it with Cooper Kupp right now. He came in with a hamstring injury in training camp, recovered from it, was fine, 100% great, and then right before the season started, obviously tweaked it again. And this is an injury that we always see kind of just nags at players and nags at them, and then disappears for a week, comes back, and then they miss time. It's really a big question mark, and I think if he plays this week, that's fine. I think he's probably a healthy go for the rest of the year. But if he misses this week and is still questionable next week, it's something that you're gonna have to start considering because hamstrings don't go away too easily.
Yeah. I think, like you said, A.J. Dillon is a must start if Aaron Jones doesn't play. But it shouldn't be a thing that is bothered. He shouldn't miss 6 weeks from it.
No,
Yeah. So that's good. Let's talk about Deontay Johnson being out from the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not like any of these Pittsburgh guys had a good game, but like we said, the 49ers defense was feasting. Deontay Johnson is going to be out for 4 weeks, so this isn't even just a this week thing. Is George Pickens going to be a major guy going over these next few weeks? Or maybe Pat Freiermuth at your tight end, whatever you think.
Freiermuth is hurt right now too.
Oh, really?
I guess I don't know the severity of it. He took a huge blow trying to catch that touchdown
I do remember that.
catch.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got the wind knocked out of him or if he's actually having some rib issues. And Najee got hurt.
Yeah, Najee did get hurt.
Not as crazy as the other two. I think he ended up coming back in.
I think he's good.
He tweaked his knee a little bit.
I think he does have the questionable tag.
Yeah, we should probably talk a little quiet so Willie doesn't hear us upstairs. But I am just not confident in any part of this Steelers offense right now. I know the 49ers are a great defense, so it's going to be tough to score on them. But there's just been so many question marks, and we haven't seen anyone kind of emerge as a dominant or even a great fantasy start. Deontay last year didn't get a touchdown. George Pickens is kind of yet to fully bloom into what people expect him to be. So I'm hesitant to kind of start anyone on this outside of a flex area.
Yeah. To me, it's it's Pickens, Freiermuth, and then I would throw Allen Robinson in there because he had a good game week one. One of those 3 guys will have a good fantasy day. The other 2 won't.
Yeah, I think so. And you're not gonna be able to pick one.
Yeah.
It'll be different every week
I
too,
think
which is tough. There's a world where like
two of them might if Pickett throws 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
They're all just a little touchdown dependent.
oh yeah, definitely. I think Freiermuth especially, which like Freiermuth had a good year last year, but that was when Kenny Pickett kind of picked up steam. So hopefully he can get it rolling. I know everyone like Kenny Pickett was, very hyped up in preseason. Obviously didn't look great in week 1. So we'll see what happens with that. Another running back or another season-long injury, J.K. Dobbins out for the year. Very unfortunate for J.K. Dobbins. He just has been very, very injury-riddled so far in his NFL career. But this is a Ravens backfield that really hasn't put out a productive fantasy running back just from a fantasy standpoint in some years. That has,
Like
a guy
3
you can,
or 4.
Yeah, and a guy that you can trust. So right now, with J.K. Dobbins being out, do you trust Gus Edwards or Justice Hill going? I know Hill had 2 touchdowns, but do you trust either of these guys going forward?
I like Justice Hill more than Gus.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one to roster, I would pick Justice Hill, but I don't think you have to roster either.
I
Yeah.
was going to say, I think my stance on this right now is I stay pretty far away from both of them. We saw, obviously, Lamar is going to have some of the best legs in the league. He's going to kind of make up for a little bit of that rushing. And Zay Flowers looked incredible.
He did.
So they could utilize him in a couple different ways that like they weren't expecting to. But I'm staying away from these 2 running backs for now.
And this happened last year. Dobbins missed some time last year, and it was like Gus Edwards had like a game or 2.
It was Latavius Murray too. Right?
Yeah.
And then who was the other guy?
They had Tyson Williams
No, it
2
wasn't
years
him.
ago.
Bigger name.
Devontae Freeman, was he on he was on the Ravens at one point, but I don't know if it was last year.
No, this guy was on the Raiders too.
Oh.
Kenyon Drake.
Kenyon Drake, dude.
You're right. 'cause
Do
you
not
started-
start a Ravens running
I
back for
remember
the rest
that.
of the year.
You were on the podcast and you were like, "Do I start Kenyon Drake?" I remember that, and you did, and he got you like 1 point.
Yeah, and he was dude. They came out with the craziest projections. He was projected like 15.5.
I remember that.
Like I had to do it
Yeah,
because I don't know if it was like a week where like AJ Dillon was playing because Aaron Jones was out or something. I had them both, and I did it, and I regretted it.
the Ravens running backs, just stay away from them for sure.
Yeah.
I have like one more thing on the injury report. I don't know if you guys have anything else, but Jerry Jeudy could be back this week. I don't know if that do you start him if he comes back? Like, does that mean Cortland Sutton hits the bench if you had him starting? I guess like what does that mean?
There's a lot of mixed feelings about Jerry Jeudy, and I feel like there has been for the last couple of years because he's another player that's always had to battle injuries.
Yeah.
But we saw flashes of greatness last year. I think we talked about this a little bit in the preseason podcast. I like Jerry Jeudy a little more than the next guy. I was a Jerry Jeudy owner last year, and even without Russ, who was awful last year, Jeudy was still serviceable as a flex, and he had that. I think that one game where he went for like 54.
Mm-hmm.
I like Jerry Jeudy, but it's tough with the injuries that he faces.
I think you definitely don't start him this week. Like
you don't.
You got to at least see
Yeah. Who do they play?
we just
Flip-flop,
he's got to guard Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which, like-
probably. I don't mind the start. I
Yeah.
think it's hard to say start or sit with some of these guys because it just is very dependent on like who your other options are.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we also saw last year Jeudy had that game where he came in and played 1 snap. Didn't get a target, just like ran around and like was hurt out for 2 weeks. And it was like,
yeah, that's very tough.
you hate to see it.
Do you guys have anything else on the injury report?
No, you covered all mine.
Okay, cool. Let's get into some starts or sits in week 2, and then we're gonna do a fun little segment that we're gonna do every week, which is boom or bust, where we keep track of things. But start or sit, I have some names written down basically that I just want to ask you guys. Like, are you starting them or are you sitting them? And I know you said you wrote down some guys for this too. First one is a guy that has a crazy projection this week, and that is James Cook of the Buffalo Bills, projected 15.2 points against the Las Vegas Raiders. For reference, he put up 10.3 in week 1 in an ugly offensive game, obviously, against the New York Jets. So are you starting or sitting James Cook in week 2?
I'm starting.
I am also starting.
Okay.
I liked what I saw. He's got good reception upside. He looked like he was clear-cut number 1. And like you said, that was an ugly game, and he still got enough work to kind of be a little bit viable.
Yeah.
I think it's a start.
Mm-hmm. And they had that like Deontay Hardy dude catch like 3 passes out of the backfield. That's just like not going to happen every week, I don't think. Like hopefully that will be Cook going. Even Damian Harris caught some passes. He never did that in New England. So yeah, I think I will start him as well.
I honestly think like I'm playing James Cook this week, and I'm playing Ramondre, and Ramondre's playing the Dolphins, and I'm a little bit more scared of James Cook.
Yeah.
I think he looked pretty good.
No,
in
he
that
did.
Bad game. Obviously, that's kind of crazy to say, like, more scared of him than Ramondre.
Right.
But, like,
is a 15.2 projection like a bit absurd,
I don't know. The Raiders
I think that's
are pretty
high,
rough.
dude. Like 14
But the Raiders
is
did
much
pretty
more
good
acceptable.
against the Broncos.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
I think 15's high.
Broncos
It's
offense
definitely
obviously is
crazy.
way worse.
15
but-
is high, but it's tough with receiving backs because
You're right. They
he
can
goes
just
out there
go
and he gets a
crazy.
touchdown and he catches 4 passes. He's sitting right there.
Okay,
at-
but let me. This isn't just because I have Gibbs, but like, should Gibbs be projected 2 points less than James Cook this week against Seattle? Because I don't see it.
See, that's
No,
tough
I agree,
because
I agree.
Montgomery is there.
I know.
They should be
So it's
projected like the same.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think.
saying that's the level maybe this week.
like maybe they should both be projected 13.
Yeah.
You know,
But I just think it takes one bad start for James Cook. Like he comes out against the Raiders, he's supposed to go crazy. He doesn't.
And he puts up
He's
7.
right back down to projected 10.5.
9,
Pacheco.
9.5.
Yeah.
It's just
I agree.
these guys get bumps. And I think he will have a good week.
Yeah.
I'm playing him.
Okay.
I hope he doesn't. But
Okay, here's a good one. Drake London / Kyle Pitts, either or, start or sit.
sit.
Sit on
Sitting
both.
sitting both.
Yeah.
I figured like maybe Pitts, like if you don't have like a better option.
Yeah.
But we talked about it. I mean, like, are you starting like Durham Smythe over Pitts this week?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would.
I mean, I'm starting like Juwan Johnson over him.
Until you see what kind of how the running backs shake out and what their like determined role
Yeah.
is, I don't think you can trust either of those guys.
If you made me choose to either start Drake London or drop him, I would drop him.
Yeah, yeah, I get that's fair. I think you're willing to let someone else take it because
Yeah.
it's just like that. What is the ceiling? You know?
Yeah.
It's going to be more of a headache all year than it is going to be like
Exactly.
Like he
Then
could.
it's-
Is he going to win you 1 week? Maybe. But do you want to do? I couldn't do it.
But you have to start him that week, you know,
Yeah.
and then that start
Which
him
means
every
you're also
other
starting
week.
him every other week.
Exactly.
And you're losing those other weeks.
Yeah, for
Exactly.
sure. Okay, here is this one's a little bit tougher. Zay Flowers, start or sit this week? He put up 17.7 in week 1, looked really good. He's projected 12.2 against the Cincinnati Bengals this week.
I say start.
Do I start him over Madison?
Start, but limit expectations.
Yes.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
I would agree. Start, but don't expect him to be an 18-point scorer every week.
Right.
I think there's a very good opportunity for him to kind of control a lot of the flow of this offense now, especially that we talked about their running back situation. But I like him a lot.
And they used him out of the backfield once too, so
Yeah,
that was pretty
exactly.
cool to see. I have like 2 more, but we kind of already went over both of these guys. So like I had DeAndre Swift on here, but like we kind of agreed that like to sit him. George Pickens, like with Deontay being out, like is he a start or sit?
I would sit.
Yeah,
Sit.
I think so. He's 11.4 projection, so yeah. You said you have a few start or sits, right?
Yeah, I can throw a couple out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
First one, Nico Collins.
Who do they
11
play?
targets week 1,
That's pretty nice.
and they're playing the Colts. They're ranked 26th just off of week 1.
I have Nico Collins in one of my leagues. I'm probably sitting Nico Collins still, just because I don't really know yet, you know, like how. But he seems to be like the most stable guy in this offense, I would say, especially because he's like been there. I know it's a different regime now, but I think I'm still sitting him. But like if he has another week like this, I'll start him week 3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
But who would you start, Nico Collins or Drake London?
Nico Collins.
Do you think those guys are comparable?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Nico Collins is like a fringe like waiver guy, you know, like in shorter leagues, whereas London like could be dropped in 8-team leagues or something, you know. So
And then my last one, Zay Jones, starter set.
This is tough.
Playing the Chiefs. I think he's projected like 12.
I would say sit, just because of the firepower on that team. Evan Ingram, solid player. Calvin Ridley, solid player. Travis Etienne's projected like 16 this week. It's tough.
And I also think that like there's no way Kirk just gets 1 catch again, right? Like
Yeah.
they have to try to utilize him more.
There was like stats though about it. Like Kirk played like less than 50% of snaps.
Really? I didn't know
so.
that.
Yeah, because they ran a lot of like 2 wide receiver sets, and it
With
was
Zay?
Zay Jones and.
I mean, Zay, and obviously he had that really nice touchdown
Yeah.
catch, which was
Yeah.
cool to see.
I don't know how accurate that stat is, but I heard something about Kirk I didn't watch the game.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes sense because Kirk and Ridley kind of are.
That's true.
Like Zay Jones is more of that other guy that I think you might want out there. So
He's a
I
bit
think
different, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting.
I think I would still bench him this week, Zay Jones. But this is a real tell, though, especially going against the Chiefs. You know, like that could be a very high-scoring game. It's a fun game. They played in the playoffs last year, so I think I would still bench him. But this means a lot for like Christian Kirk owners, though. You know, like if Zay Jones becomes that wide receiver too. Okay, are we ready to hop into the?
I got one. I want to throw you guys
Let's
quick.
do it.
Okay, so 10 or 12 man league. If you didn't get one of the top 6 quarterbacks, you're looking at the QB1 here. Scored 27 points last week. Tua. If you have like Tua and like Deshaun, which one are you taking there? Where do you rank Tua, and do you think he's predicted 17.9 going against the Patriots this week? What are your thoughts on Tua?
It sucks because he's going against the Patriots. I think, though, like you said, if you don't have like a Mahomes or Allen or Hurts or Herbert, you know, like one of those top guys, I think that you kind of have to start Tua.
So if you're like floating in the Deshaun Watson, Tua, Danny Dimes, do you think Tua comes out of that pack?
Yeah, I think so.
Easily?
I think he's the top dog of that pack. And it sucks because I have Tua as my backup in my league that I have Mahomes in. So, like, I want to try to leverage Tua to somebody, but, like, it's like how Cade has Tua right now.
Yeah.
No one's going to trade for him when you know that you don't need him.
Exactly.
You know, why would I give you something valuable when you're never, you know, like...
So here's a little interesting stat with Tua, like you said, going up against the Patriots this week. He has never had a multi-touchdown game against the Patriots.
Really?
Never.
And he's probably played them, like, at least, like, 6 or 7, 8 times now.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's 1 touchdown or less every single time. Bill Belichick kind of has his number.
That's good. That's a good point.
But
what do you think?
Tyreek's going for 2,000 this year.
He is.
I think you said that he was above all those guys in the tier. I
think
still
so.
like Deshaun a little more.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just an interesting week 1. I think all season long I would rather have Deshaun. That might be kind of a hot take after week 1.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, though. I mean, because also, like, Tua, like, is just insanely injury risky, you know? And, like... But also, Tua was good last year. Like, when Tua played, like, he was a really good fantasy quarterback last year. So, and obviously having Tyreek and Jalen Waddle plays a huge part in that. So, I think I start him. I think.
Yeah, I'd probably start him too. There's just a world where Tyreek goes for 140 yards and, like, maybe scores a touchdown, and then Waddle has, like, 90 yards and doesn't score, and then it's just like... But, like, I would start him. There's no reason not to start him. You can't not.
I think so, too, especially just based off. I mean, he was a top QB last week. Yeah. Like, I think you have to. All right, so this is how we're going to end today's show. We are going to do boom or bust for week 2. 2 booms, 2 busts. The way this works is we are each going to give 2 guys that we think are going to get 5+ points above their projection and 5 points below their projection for week 2. And we're going to keep track to see, like, who does the best by the end. So that you can get up to 4 points. You can get as low as 0 points. And these are hard, you know, like it's hard to predict, especially we talked about this before, but it's hard to predict who's going to bust, you know, just who's going to have a bad week. It's a lot easier to pick who's going to go crazy. So I have my 4 locked in here. Who wants to go first?
We should go one at a time.
Yeah, we can go one at a time. We'll go. And you can start with your boom or bust or whatever.
I'll start with a bust here.
Okay.
And I'm going to go Travis Etienne bust this week. He's projected 16.2 points going against Kansas City, who we know just had a very tough loss to the Lions.
Yeah.
Chris Jones just signed his contract, so they're going to be looking for a bounce back game here. And I think 16.2 might be a little generous for a team that, you know, is going to be a tough play.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that pick. I think I'll follow it up here. I have a running back pick as well here. A guy who actually I went against this week in fantasy. Tony Pollard bust this week. 17.4 projection. Listen, he had a crazy week in week 1. He had like 22 points, I think. He scored 2 touchdowns. He only had 2 catches on 2 targets. I know that it was like a blowout game, so it's kind of hard to judge. But they're playing against the Jets, and the Jets defense looked really good against the Bills. Yep. And also, like, Dak is just due to throw like 2 or 3 picks. Like, he's just
After
due.
1 week, he's due.
Yes, I think he is. Especially with Josh Allen throwing 3 picks to Jordan Whitehead alone. So I think it's very possible that Tony Pollard gets you like 11 this week, because I mean it's a high projection at 17.4.
Yeah, it's high.
So I'm gonna go with Tony Pollard as my one of my bust picks for this week.
Okay, so for my first bust pick, it's kind of funny because you said something about him, but Terry McLaurin bust.
Yeah,
I think Surtain puts the locks on. He's
can see it.
projected 13. I think he busts.
good, because I wasn't gonna start him anyway, so I'm happy that you said
I was
that.
gonna say I've got him as a bust too.
Okay,
So coming back around the horn to me here, I'm gonna go with a boom player, and I'm going Danny Dimes. They're playing the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, they just had a very, very tough loss where they couldn't get anything going on offense. He's projected 18.1 points. He's got a lot of rushing upside against a Cardinals defense that I think is very shaky.
yeah, I like that pick. So you had Terry as your other bust.
I've got a couple other.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Say if we have some repeats too, like it's not that big of a deal. So, okay, so I'll mix in a boom here, and I think this is gonna make you very happy. I think Jahmyr Gibbs booms this week. Jahmyr Gibbs is projected 13.2. Listen, we talked about this before. Dan Campbell said that week 1 they just didn't want to put all the pressure on Jahmyr Gibbs. They didn't want, against the Super Bowl champs. Like, this is one of the biggest games the Lions have played, like, since their last playoff game, probably. Mm-hmm. He didn't want that pressure on him. He wanted Montgomery as the veteran to be the lead. And in week 2, they're headed back home. We saw what the Rams did and the Rams is a good offense for sure. Stafford obviously looked really good. But that Seattle team just looked bad in general. Both of Seattle's offensive tackles are going to be out, so their offense probably isn't going to play very good, and that means more offense for the Lions. I think Gibbs at a 13.2 projection, like, he looked so good. He just needs the ball in his hands more. So I think he for sure is going to get you 18 points this week. I think, and hopefully he gets a touchdown, obviously, but I think he could get it without a touchdown.
I had him on here and I took it off because I don't want to jinx it.
Right.
And I put on it as a side note, like, if he scores a touchdown, 20 plus fantasy points.
I think so too. And like the touchdown is the big thing, but like he could still get close to it without 20. I think so too.
So my first boom is Mark Andrews.
Okay.
He's projected 12.4. I think he will score 17 plus if he scores a touchdown, and I think he will.
Yeah.
Now I'm forgetting who they're playing. Oh, they're playing the Bengals. I think it'll be a shootout. Bengals get right game.
They will get right, yeah.
And it's gonna be a shootout, I think.
Mm-hmm. I like that pick too. I think Mark Andrews for sure could. I definitely considered him as one of my guys.
So I'll end it off my picks on a bust. And I had a tough choice choosing between 3 dudes here because I could see it being any single one of them. But I'm going to go Jackson, Smith, and Jigba bust.
Okay.
It's projected 11.3 points against a Detroit defense that we saw put a lot of pressure on Mahomes, even with that offensive tackle cheating the whole time.
Yeah.
So
that dude was cheating hard.
I think either him or Lockett could both be busts this week. I think DK will probably get his.
DK feasted on the Lions last year too.
But I could see Njigba kind of succumbing to a lot of defensive pressure that the Lions are going to be throwing at him.
I like that pick. It's kind of a high projection for JSN. What did he didn't have that much week 1. Like
week 1 he pulled out 4.3.
Yeah, like
3 receptions on 5 targets for 13 yards.
Like that's a lot of that's kind of, I mean, 11.6 isn't a high projection in general, but for that, for what we saw.
Exactly.
I don't know. Kind of seems a little bit weird to me. I have another boom pick here. And you're going to be happy about this one. I'm making both of my guests happy today. Nick Chubb, boom, this week. Nick Chubb has a 15.8 projection. Last week he had 16.7 without a touchdown. And this week they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know the Steelers have this great defense. Cam Hayward is out. Going to be out for several weeks for the Steelers. They're one of the better interior defensive linemen in the league. And we saw what McCaffrey did to the Pittsburgh defense last week. I know that Chubb and McCaffrey are different players. But either way, they're both elite running backs, and McCaffrey torched the Steelers. I think that Chubb could get. I mean, 15.8 is a high projection to boom on, but I think he can get over 20 points this week, especially if he just gets in the end zone because he had almost 17 without a touchdown last week. So I'm relying on a Chubb touchdown this week.
I like that.
So for my next bust, it's kind of a hot take.
Wow.
Garrett Wilson bust.
Okay.
I think he's projected 14. I think he'll have less than 9. I don't think he'll score a touchdown. I think the Cowboys are going to run Zach Wilson into the ground. I think he'll probably end with 4 receptions for 45 yards, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't really see anything. Week to week, he will be better than this, but I really think there's some guys out there that you maybe could start other than him.
Against the Cowboys too, like it's
just like what's gonna go good? He's gonna have to score a touchdown, and it's gonna have to be a crazy play. And he already had one, and I get that, and that was awesome, and I still love. Garrett
But it's still
Wilson.
a crazy play.
Right.
Yeah. How often do plays like that happen?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't see. I think the only way the Jets get in the red zone is from Brees.
Yeah.
The only way Garrett Wilson scores a touchdown, other than that, is a bomb. Zach Wilson isn't going to have enough time to throw. And Garrett Wilson is good, like yards after catch. I just don't see it. I think it's...
I agree. I like that pick. It's a tough projection to make from fantasy, you know, like what do you... Because you don't just want to disrespect Garrett Wilson and project him 11, but like, is 14 a realistic projection, you know? I don't know.
I don't see it, how it is.
You have one more boom left?
Yeah, I could if we want to go around again.
Yeah.
My last boom is Jordan Addison playing the 24th ranked Philadelphia defense. He's projected 11.7 points. We saw him do very well last week, despite having a pretty mediocre second half from all of the receivers over there in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think this could be a great week for him.
I like that pick. And he had a really good week 1 too.
Yeah,
and I have him
16.1.
Yeah, and he looked really good. It seemed like him and Kirk already were on the same page, which is good to see. My last bust. So I had like a boring one, and it was Tutu Atwell, but like no one's starting him. Like he's still in waivers in a good amount of leagues, so like I'm not gonna pick him. He has 10.5 projection. Like someone in that Rams offense is just not gonna do as good. Like they're not just gonna put up 120 yards again.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the guy that we have talked about a lot so far on this episode. They play tomorrow night, just like Jordan Addison. DeAndre Swift bust this week at 12.1 points. I just think that, like, I just don't think it's set in stone that Swift is just gonna be the guy. Like, I think that he could get a lot of work for sure. This could backfire and he could be a boom, you know. But I'm just taking the route that from what we saw in week 1, Boston Scott was RB2 and Penny didn't play. Swift barely played. So I think that it's just gonna be a mess there. I don't know if any guy gets over 8 points. So I'm relying on Swift to get under 7 here, which is risky because he could do that very early, but I'm going with bust for Swift.
Okay, and for my last boom, it's funny that you said that Tutu Atwell thing because this guy is probably on some people's waivers,
right?
But it's a boom, so I think it's different.
No, it's different for doing a boom that
and
way,
if Aaron Jones doesn't play this week, he will be starting for me. It's Zach Moss. He's projected 9.3.
Okay.
Going up against the Texans. Evan Hull got hurt.
I did see that.
I think Dion looked pretty rough. So if he plays, I think he's easily going to have 14 fantasy points.
Yeah, I think so. He just got a touchdown, obviously, would be a huge part in that. So we'll see next week, you know, who did good on their booms and busts. Anything else that we need to get out of the way heading into week 2 of fantasy that we can think of?
No, I'll throw, if Jack listens to this, one of 2 people will be 0-2 after this week, and it's Jack and Seth. So it's a big week for you two.
Oh, like wait, you play each other?
Jack play each other.
Oh, I see.
They're both 0-1.
Wow. Oh, I didn't think.
But I made
that.
a huge accusation yesterday.
Yeah. I thought you said accusation.
No, accusation
yeah.
of Nick Chubb.
Yeah, which is huge.
It fills a huge fantasy spot for me.
And I just picked him as a boom.
Yeah, so like, he's booming.
Obviously, he's going to go crazy.
Totally.
I hate to break it to you, Jack.
Yeah, and I beat Jack week 1, too, and it was actually like the easiest dub of my whole life. So, all right, guys, thank you for listening, and we will be back next week to go over things, and I'll be back this weekend to talk about the Lions win, hopefully. So, peace out.